Warning: the following contains explicit language and subject matter that may not be suitable for younger listeners, church folk, and people who enjoy kale smoothies.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to A Pod Amongst Men. I'm your host, Steve B. This is Coffee Break Conversations for the 21st century. This is actually A Pod Amongst Men, but we have Coffee Break Conversations in the 21st century for the 21st century. If you're new, if you don't know what this is all about. So welcome back, guys. We're here for another week. Finally got my situation straightened out here. Sorry for regaling you with my tales of woe in the last few weeks. But yeah, we're pretty straight now. So this episode, my guest is Jason Priest. He's the host of the DAD BOD Pod. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. And he came on here and he talked about a lot of men's health, physical health. You know, we talk about the mental stuff here a lot, but Jason was here to get us straight with some of the physical things we could be doing to extend our lives, to make ourselves more functional health-wise. You know, a lot of us are dads. We don't want to be, the old dad, showing up on the rascal scooter to school events, fanning themselves with the program. You know what I'm talking about. But, yeah, Jason's sharing some of his great wealth of knowledge with us. And I'm not going to ruin it by running my mouth as usual. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Jason Priest. Thanks for doing this, bro. I appreciate it. I know it's kind of out of the blue. Like we don't know each other or anything, but I'm just out there trying to network.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Yeah, I think
I understand. I understand. This is, it's not my first rodeo. And, usually on a Saturday, man, I can pull it off. Evenings are tough for me just with kids,
I gotcha. Now you have, two kids?
2. Yeah. 5 and 4 months. 5 years old, 4 months.
Yeah, I have a 9-year-old.
So baby in my room still.
I got a 9-year-old and
you have a 9-year-old?
Yeah, and another one on the way now.
Oh, awesome! Congrats, man. Number 2 is fun.
Is it?
Tell you, game changer. Yeah. I feel like number 2 is a little bit easier. From what I remember with 1. You're like me, dude. So my son is 5, so I forgot what it was like to have a baby. You got even a wider gap, and so. The sleep part is a little bit challenging, but that's temporary. I feel like number 2 has been a little bit easier, even though he's more of a high maintenance baby, but just having a baby in general, this is it's a fun time for us, man. So he just turned 4 months a couple days ago. So it's been awesome.
Yeah. My 9-year-old son, he's my stepson. So me and his mom didn't get married until he was like 5 or 6. So this will be my first. Okay. So I thought I dodged a bullet. I thought I got to skip the whole infancy stage, but now I'm getting to go back and do it.
Dude,
over.
This though, man, like having your own, I know you have obviously you have unconditional love for your stepson, but this is going to be a whole different scenario for you, man. I'm excited for you. It's amazing. I'm 41 and we didn't think we wanted kids in the beginning. We were married for 10 years before we decided that we wanted to have a kid. And it's been a rough road to get number 2. We've had some really big challenges, and now having number 2 is just it's awesome.
Nice. So before we start, is there any way you could kind of angle your camera down a little bit? Just
there you go.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, so I'll do my intro later on. Do you want to, so we can really start, do you want to give a bit of a brief intro as to who you are, like kind of tell the audience a little bit about yourself so they get to kind of get a feel for you?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that, man. So obviously, my company is DAD BOD Health. I started off as a registered nurse in the ICU. I started my career as a registered nurse in the ICU. Worked in there for 6 years, recovering post-op heart surgery patients a lot. That was really what our ICU did a lot of. And so I saw a lot of guys. I've done CPR on, guys in their 40s and 50s with mom and kids standing in the room watching, hoping and praying that dad was going to make it through. Right. And so that was a big inspiration for me in starting my business, but didn't really take place till later on in life. And so I'm a bit of a late blooming entrepreneur, if you will. So after the ICU, I went through my own health transformation as well. My mom died when I was 25. She was 49 at the time. And so I got depressed, put on a bunch of weight, started drinking a bunch of beer, eating a bunch of fast food. I was working night shift at the time, so I was playing a lot of golf in the morning. We'd get off work, go to the golf course and just drink beer, eat fast food and play golf. And that's not a recipe for success. And so pounds started packing on. My wife and I moved away. She's a pharmacist. So we moved away to a small town for her to go to pharmacy school. I didn't know anybody. So mom had just passed away. I'm depressed, move off to a strange place, start a new job. Cause the new town that I moved to, the pay wasn't nearly what it was for an ICU nurse in Dallas. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to do this anymore. I actually became a director of nursing at a long-term care facility, like a nursing home. Okay. So I went from saving lives to allowing people to die peacefully. After that, we moved back to Dallas, and I started working in corporate wellness. In Abilene was the small town. So there is where I kind of started my weight loss journey. I was 60 pounds overweight. I was able to drop that weight. And then, we moved back to Dallas, and I started working in corporate wellness. And that's when I became a personal trainer and really got passionate about fitness, not just about health. And so I worked in corporate wellness for about 8 years and kind of put it all together. My experience with my own health transformation, my experience working in the ICU, becoming a personal trainer, really getting fully entrenched in the health and wellness space, and decided that, I was very unfulfilled in the corporate world. And I needed to start my own business so that I could make a bigger impact in the world, man. And that's, in a nutshell, that's a little bit about my past.
Okay. So you said you went into corporate wellness, and it's like a personal trainer. Did they make you go through the same process?
Yeah. So, yeah, good question. So basically with corporate wellness, I was working for, and you've probably heard, and, like if maybe you have relatives too, like if you work for a corporation, you'll go out and hire wellness companies to come in. And really, you can work with a health coach. They'll go over your biometric screening, which is like your cholesterol and stuff. So you go have that done. And then they'll coach you on ways to get healthier to avoid the hospital, right? Okay. Like that's the goal is to save the company steps. Money. Right. And so they reward you with different things. And so our goal was to keep you out of the hospital to save your company money, but also help you get healthy, and everybody wins, right? So during that time, I became a personal trainer, or got my personal training certification to be able to talk to people about fitness plans in addition to what I was already doing. So I was working with people with chronic conditions, heart disease, diabetes, asthma, high blood pressure, COPD, you name it, congestive heart failure. So those were like my people, but I didn't have enough education to be able to help them with fitness plans as well. And so I became a personal trainer while I was working there so that I could put it all together and be able to talk to one person and not have to send them to, a personal trainer after we were done. And it just, obviously it helped me a lot.
They make it like a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, you mentioned earlier in life that you had you were overweight.
Sure.
Now, there's a lot of guys out there. And one of my best friends has always been like a skinny, lean guy. So it's like losing weight has never been an issue for him. And I know there's a lot of guys out there who have the same thing where it's like they've never been heavy. They don't know what that kind of struggle is like. That no feeling, doubt. Even like the mental impact of it that goes alongside where it's like you just can't even look at yourself in the mirror sometimes. What was it like? Like, how did you start the journey into getting in shape? Because I know I went through the same thing around like 2008-ish. So I don't know, like we'll kind of compare journeys real quick.
Yeah, no, good question. I was a guy at the time. I didn't have the fitness background that I do now, and so I went through a lot of the same challenges that guys do now with weight loss, and fad diet to fad diet, long, boring hours of cardio. I tried keto. I tried low carb. I tried all the fad diets because I wanted it off quick. I have vivid memories of sitting on the curb in front of my house in Abilene, putting my headphones in and having to give myself like a 20-minute pep talk just to motivate myself to go run like a mile or a mile and a half. Well, when you're trying to run with 60 pounds of extra weight on your knees, on your back, on your ankles. I played soccer for 15 years prior to that, so I already had some injuries. So I knew how to work out, but I thought running was going to be my ticket, right? I'm like, I'll just fall in love with running, eat a little bit healthier, and the weight will come off. And that just wasn't the case, man. I tried, cutting out. I often talk to people about keto. It's like if you can look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself you'll never eat carbs again in your entire life, keto's probably for you, right? Like people can have a lot of success on it, and they do. But I've heard more horror stories about keto where you'll lose 50 only to gain 60 back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lose 30 to gain 40 back because it's just not sustainable.
It's like you go off the wagon and you lose your mind, and it all comes
Yeah.
back with a vengeance.
You're done. And so for me, the thing that helped me most was figuring out a way to surround myself with people who wanted me to win as well. I was trying to go at it alone. And here's the funny part is like when we lived in Abilene with my wife's pharmacy school, she got access to, still to this day, one of the nicest like private health clubs I've ever been in. I would compare it to something like a high-end Lifetime, but private, scaled down, like the whole smoothie bar in there. Like it was a really nice place. And we were there for 4 years. And it was at the time, it was like $50 a month. And this was, this is 14 years ago, something like that. And so, $50 a month at that time, like it's a pretty steep gym membership.
Yeah.
If you're not real serious about it. And so we were given that for free. And so obviously I didn't have any skin in the game. And my wife would always say, hey, we have access to this free gym. Do you want to use it? And it wasn't until the final year that we were there that I finally decided, you know what, man, I'm going to go try it out. Right. Like I need to go see this place. And so I got there. And I fell in love with spin classes, and I don't do those to this day. Like I haven't done a spin class in, geez, man, it's been years and years and years.
I've always been iffy with the bike. I prefer the treadmill.
And I love the bike right now. Like I do my interval training on a bike, on a stationary bike, but it's a little bit different from a spin bike. And so like it was a different animal for me, but it just worked. And the thing that I liked about it most was that, number one, this place had like a top tier facility. So you walk in the spin room and there's like mountains and shit painted on the wall. And like, it was really, really nice. You go in, you feel like, man, like this is legit. But the thing the reason I thrived in there so much is because it was the same group of people coming back every day for that same spin class. And I was surrounded by people who wanted me to win just as much as I wanted myself to win. And that's where the magic happened for me. So initially, I dropped the weight using the spin class, but then I really started to transform my physique by one of the instructors from the spin class. I started talking to him, and I was like, man, like I'm interested in lifting some weights. He was like a big dude, really short guy, like 5'3" or 5'4", but like just jacked. And I'm like, this guy knows, a little bit about adding some muscle mass. And so he started working with me a little bit, helping me get like some foundation built on the bench press. And really that's when I fell in love with weights, right? I was like, this is where I need to be. Like, this is where I'm going to thrive. So I kind of ditched the spin class and then started doing my own cardio in addition to the weights. But that's really kind of how I got the process started. But like I said, I tried the fad diets. I tried the long cardio. Like there's no worse way to try to go exercise when you're overweight than to go on like a 5-mile jog or like a 3-mile jog.
Even if you're in shape, it's still rough on you.
It's when you're in shape, unless you just love running. And there's not a guy in our program right now. Like we've got a very thriving community of men in our private program right now that are just all crushing it, dude. Like it is insane to see the results that are coming out of here. And a huge factor is that community feel, right? Like that's why I did so well. These guys are just feeding off of each other. They're having these healthy competitions. And it just, it's infectious, right? You see other guys winning, you want to win too. And so
it seems like that's like a really constructive way to channel like that competitive nature that so many men have. Like we channel that into something really positive. We're bettering ourselves and motivating each other at the same time.
100%, man. And like, I'll tell you, and this is just like with my business, I started off doing nothing but one-on-one coaching. And look, like a lot of my clients were successful, but some of them come back to see me. And most businesses want repeat customers. One thing that and I say we, like I have a team now. One thing that we pride ourselves on is that we don't have repeat clients, right? We're giving you a permanent solution. Our system, the system that we've developed, it just works, and it works really, really well. We place an emphasis on what we call the 4 core pillars of health. So we get really focused on optimizing your sleep and optimizing your stress management and really implementing a daily stress management routine that allows you to keep those 2 pillars dialed in. Most guys fixate on diet and exercise, right? Those are very important. I'm not going to undermine those. But when you lose sight of the importance of sleep and stress management, you're not going to get the results that you should or that you could with your fitness and your nutrition. And so we put them all 4 together, and we've created this system that just works. So the guys are coming in, they have the tools to succeed, and then they get in this community of other dudes that also want them to win because they're like, well, you're on my team now. Let's crush together. And it's just, it's infectious, man. The power of community has been probably the biggest, I would say, like the most impactful decision that I made with our private program is moving to a hybrid, more of a hybrid approach and getting away from the one-on-one. I thought losing some of that personal one-on-one touch was going to have a negative impact, and they still get some of that. But that community feel, no matter where you're at in your journey, like surrounding yourself with people, especially when it comes to health. And you could probably say that with anything, business, relationships, whatever. But with people that are like-minded and want you to do well, just as bad as they want themselves to do well, because you're in it together, dude, it's a powerful, powerful force.
Absolutely. I believe that. You mentioned stress management. Could you kind of elaborate on what exactly that consists of?
Yeah, 100%. So it is probably like, I can't overemphasize again the importance of sleep and stress management. Most of us know that sleep is important, and I'll just give you a little sidebar on the sleep before I go into stress, because they really kind of all tie together. But because getting adequate, both quality and quantity sleep can also have an impact on your stress levels, right? If you're not sleeping enough, you're going to feel more stressed out, especially if you're not managing it. But what we do, and some of the strategies that we teach now, we help our clients build out, a morning routine that really allows you to implement our strategies on a daily basis, because we believe that if you stay on top of your stress management, and this is something that you're doing on a daily or an almost daily basis, you're not gonna have Thursday come up and you feel like you got to pull your hair out, right? Like Thursday or Friday comes.
I don't know anything about that.
You can pull your beard out, right?
Yeah.
But Thursday or Friday, and this is how most guys approach it, right? Like most guys feel like stress is normal and that we're expected to carry more stress around. Maybe you're the leader of the household, or you're a dude. We're supposed to be like tough, like, rub some dirt on it and move forward, which I'm completely against that mentality. I think that's where a lot of guys start to have mental health issues, because we've never been able to express ourselves.
We talk about that a lot on this show.
Dude, it's such a thing, man. Like the guys in our society right now, we're expected to carry more, right? Like we're expected to carry on additional stress and just brush it off. Well, here's where the magic happens is and we have a lot of clients that come in that say, look, I never knew that my stress was as high as it is until I started implementing these strategies. Because we'll have guys come in and I'll do their onboarding call and they're like, I'm not that stressed out. I don't feel that stressed out. I'm like, look, just wait. Like, I've had so many people tell me exactly what you just said. And then a couple weeks later, a month later, you implement things and they'll come back. And again, they're like, I never knew. This is mind blowing, right? So it's really about staying on top of it with some simple strategies, but building out a morning routine. And I'll give you I'll tell you what mine looks like. And then you can kind of get an idea of what it's very much. So we have, we have the 4 pillars that I mentioned. And so what our approach is that we have our sleep and stress optimization models, right? They're very much a model because your morning routine is not going to look exactly like my morning routine. But what we do is we give you a model to follow so that hopefully you can model it in your life. The other 2 pieces are our optimal nutrition protocol, because it is very cut and dry. It's black and white. It's you eat these types of foods at this time of day. You eat these types of foods at this time of day. We teach a couple different types of intermittent fast. What's that?
I was saying no guesswork involved. Just make it idiot proof.
Right, exactly. It's dialed out. So, we teach a couple different kinds of intermittent fasting. And as long as you follow that and you're eating the right meal structure at the right time of day, like it's pretty black and white. Same thing with fitness. We have an app that we use. All your workouts are very dialed out for you. So we call it our fitness elevation method. One thing that we're really big on is meeting guys where they're at and then guiding them to where they want to go. Most guys don't want to come in and be thrown to the wolves and say, hey, here's your 5 workouts a week. They're going to kick your ass and you're going to end up hating the word exercise, but they're going to work for you. Like that's not the approach at all. That's not sustainable. It's not going to stick long-term. So with our fitness elevation method, we meet you where you're at and then we elevate you to where you want to go, right? It's laying that foundation early in the process so that you can build strength. Your form is good. All the workouts are very reasonable. They're short, 45, 50 minutes max. We don't want you living in the gym.
Let me ask you something before you go on.
Yeah.
As far as what do you think the ratio of guys is that, that comes in and they don't like the exercise. They don't like the strain, but I know you and I, being it, well, I used to be in the gym world, not now, obviously, but
sure.
There's always I always noticed there was a large portion of guys who kind of loved, like, I'm going to kick my ass. And that was like a source of pride almost. Like I'm going in there, I'm going to work out super hard. I want to just go balls to the wall. And that's why you see a lot of guys after they take time off, they come back and they end up hurting themselves because they're trying to do what they did before. Do you see it more often that, guys come in and want to do more or they want to do less?
And that's, it depends on the individual. So like we have a couple of guys who just love the workout aspect, right? They're they want to take it to another level. I will tell you in my own personal life, like I said, I'm 41 and I'm going to tell you right now that there's never a time where I go in the gym. I shouldn't say never, like once in a while it happens, but like I'm very rarely at this point in my life going in the gym, like with the mentality, like I'm going to go in there and I'm going to be the Rock today. Like I'm just going to destroy this workout. For me, I'm somewhere between that mentality and preventing myself from just going through the motions. So I talk about 2 different types of comfort zones, right? Comfort zone A is the guy who's sitting on the couch watching Netflix and eating chips. Like that's a comfort zone. You're not doing shit. You need to do something beyond that, right? Like activity is important. We know that. But comfort zone B is something that I talk to our private clients about a lot, because comfort zone B is this. I've been consistently working out now for well over 10 years, probably close, like it's been over 10 years now where I don't, like 4 days a week in the gym is my minimum. And like very rarely do I not hit that. Right. So think that over 10-year span. So I'm in a maintenance mode right now. I don't have a goal of adding a bunch of mass. I don't have a goal of losing a bunch of body fat. I'm at a point now where like I'm a dad and I want to maintain. I just want to stay healthy, stay strong, and maintain. So for me, what I have to do is prevent myself from falling into comfort zone B. And so going back to, your question, like what I teach our clients is, look, there's going to be times where you feel like you're just going through the motions in the gym, and that's okay. Like those workouts are going to happen, but your goal is to always go in there with a 1% better mentality. Doesn't mean you have to risk injury. Doesn't mean you have to be the Rock and go in there and just crush new personal best every time. But your goal is to prevent yourself from going to the gym 3 or 4 weeks in a row and doing the exact same exercise with the exact same amount of weight, with the exact same amount of reps. Like you're not getting better with that. Again, that's better than the guy on the couch, but you're not getting better with that mentality. Right. And so there's a mix. I would say a lot of guys come in and don't realize how much they're going to end up loving the workouts. And then a week or 2 in, we start hearing about, man, I've not been sore, but like a good sore in a long time. Or, hey, it's been a month in the program and I feel like I'm getting stronger and I'm loving every minute of it. So things will shift pretty quickly. But to go back to your original question about stress management, before I lose that train of thought, because it is very important. I think a lot of guys out there need to hear this, and I'll kind of tell you what my routine looks like. And what we do again is help piece this together, depending on what your routine is going to look like. But it's a combination of gratitude journaling. Very first thing that I do when I wake up in the morning is fill out a gratitude journal. If you can't be grateful and have that programmed into your subconscious mind, it's going to be a rough go for you. You gotta realize that, no matter where you're at in your journey, you still have things to be grateful for, right? And if you don't, like the number one thing I write down in my gratitude journal every single day is the fact that I woke up. If you can't be grateful for the fact that you're blessed with another day, the universe kind of has a way of knowing that, right? And so gratitude is so huge, and especially for stress. Like when you start practicing that, it's a longer term play, but it just works. So
it makes sense. That makes total sense. If you're
for sure
thankful and happy that you have what you have, and you're blessed with what you're blessed with, it's kind of hard to stay mad, right? It just makes logical sense.
And again, it's about putting that in the subconscious, right? So you can either use your subconscious mind for yourself, or it can be used against you. And if you're not using it for you, you're doing yourself a disservice, because when you program your subconscious mind to practice gratitude on a regular basis, when you have these bad days, when you have challenges and struggles that come up in life, and your subconscious is drawn to, well, but I have all these things to be grateful for. It just makes life a little bit simpler of a process to live when you're not always anxious, or you're not depressed, or you're not, all these racing thoughts that are going through your head. You can stay grounded with gratitude. So that's a big piece. Another piece, which has played a massive role in my life, and I'm going to tell you, this is one of the hardest things to do with what we teach. And a lot of guys struggle with this in the beginning because we are drawn to our phones, right? But another thing is we teach that for about the first 20 or 30 minutes of the day, that we want you to block out that time for you, right? So this can be a combination of gratitude journaling. This can be some deep breathing. I'm big on meditation. This can be some meditation. This can be some reading for personal development. But what we teach you to do is to come in and try to block that first 30 minutes of your day where you don't look at your phone, other than maybe to do your gratitude journal or to pull up YouTube for your meditation, whatever wherever you got to go in your phone for that. But like in terms of checking texts, checking emails, logging on to social media, we teach avoiding that process, because when you start to be proactive about the start of your day, you can start, this is a subconscious mind. You're programming your mind to believe that you're the one that's in control of your day. You're going to dictate the start of your day. And now you're going to start performing at a higher level because you're the one setting yourself up to dominate your day. It's not a reactive approach. It's a proactive approach. And so if you know as well as I do that, negativity is what gets clicks, right? There's no positive stories in the media. The media right now, especially, is feeding you everything negative that they want you to hear. It's political. It's riots. It's police brutality. It's child kidnapping. There's all this negativity out there. Negativity is waiting around every corner if you want to go seek it out, and it will find you. Our minds are drawn to that. We're humans. We're curious, right? You're going to seek that out. And so when you start your day by blocking that time out, and you're not allowing any of that negativity to creep in your mind, now you're starting your day with gratitude. You're going to involve some deep breathing or some meditation, potentially some personal development reading from a nonfiction book. And you're starting to really be proactive about the beginning of your day. It can set you up for this trickle-down effect for the rest of your day. You're telling your mind, I'm the one who's in control of my day. So it's such a massive shift. And again, it's not an easy one to do because we're so drawn to that phone. Absolutely.
So if you can kind of take me through your approach, like I know on your show, you've talked about meeting guys where they are in terms of, getting people back into shape and getting into a healthy lifestyle. What do you say to, like, say you have your average guy, like a lot of my listeners were blue collar guys. I'm an electrician. I work on construction. What do you do for a guy who, works 40 hours a week, sometimes overtime, and you're working physical labor, you're tired. Those are the guys that come home, they take a shower and sit down on the couch, and then 5 minutes later, done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do we help those guys? Like, what's our approach for them?
That's a great question because, in fact, we've got guys in our program right now who are very much like that. The majority of the guys in our program, they're busy dudes. Some of them work from home now because of the pandemic, but a lot of them are on the go and they're busy guys. And so, we have to cater to that lifestyle because those are the guys a lot of times who need the most help. I will tell you that a big part of what we teach, again, we teach a couple different types of intermittent fasting. One's you're either a coffee drinker or you're not. If you are, you essentially follow exactly what I follow every day, which is more of a modified. It's kind of like a bulletproof coffee start to the day with a little bit of plain whey protein, which can allow you to hold your fast a little bit longer. But it's huge because it works out to the favor of the guys that you're talking about right now. It's a convenience factor, but it also helps you burn fat more efficiently, right? You're trying to prevent any kind of glucose spike, which is followed by a subsequent insulin spike, which is then pushing anything you don't use as fuel into your cells to be stored as fat, right? And so you want to eliminate, or you want to limit that process as much as possible to stay in that natural fat burning mode. And so with guys that you're referring to that work long hours, they don't have this cumbersome approach of like having to have this big, hearty breakfast to start the day because it's the most important meal of the day, which couldn't be further from the truth. There is no most important meal of the day. It's you either get in adequate, proper nutrients or you don't. And so whatever time that happens is not relevant in the grand scheme of things. However, what we teach, it just works. So in terms of nutrition, we're giving you a little bit more flexibility on the front end of the day. And then we teach you, we teach a couple different types of windows, eating windows, right? I usually start off with an 8-hour window for most guys. My eating window, dude, is like 5.5 hours, and I get four meals in less than 6 hours.
Where does that window fall in the day? Like, what time do you start?
Yeah, so from 2 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. is my eating window. So my first meal doesn't come until 2.
Holy crap.
And I get 4 meals in between 2 and 7:30. There are guys in our program that are close to that now, but they didn't start there. That's not that I've been doing this for a long time. So it takes some time to get it that narrow. But with that being said, so going back to, we'll expand on a little bit of your question here. So the nutrition aspect becomes a little bit easier for them because, you're talking, we coach a lot of healthy fats, right? So if you're electrician that's working 40 plus hours a week and you don't have to eat breakfast, you do our little bulletproof coffee thing to start the day. And then you move on and your first meal doesn't come until, let's say, noon, when you're going to have a lunch break or whatever. Well, we're going to teach you, if you're going to go out to eat, I'm going to give you some options. If you're going to bring your lunch, I'm going to give you some options. And then, then your first meal's done. Then you have like a mid-afternoon snack, which is, again, there's a lot of grab and go items that we use. We're big on nuts and hard-boiled eggs and things like that are getting more healthy fats into your life. That's where a lot of the magic will happen. And then you have a sensible dinner when you get home, right? So now your nutrition has just shifted and it's more convenient for you. And it's just very, very, very powerful when you do it like this. Now, with that being said, these guys that have physical jobs and are going out and working, if it's manual labor or borderline manual labor, it's going to be physically exerting. But you still want to involve the fitness aspect. So for somebody like that, we might not focus so much on cardio because it's going to take a little bit longer to do that. Or maybe we say, hey, if you can get in, if you can get in 3 or 4 walks a week for 10, 15 minutes where you're getting your heart rate up a little bit, just to get some heart health benefits, great. But the one aspect that we do include on somebody like that is going to be the resistance training piece. So once you optimize your nutrition, you start fueling your body with more nutrient dense foods that are going to make you feel better throughout the day. You're going to have that prolonged energy. You're not going to be zonked out by the end of the day. Now you start to feel better. Now you might have a little bit more reserve to be able to work out. So for somebody like that, depending on kids and family and start time of the day and all those factors that come in, we're going to look at, all right, well, is it going to be best for you to work out in the morning or is it going to be best for you to work out in the evening? Right now, if you're coming home and you're zonked from the day, let's get some other things in place so that that's not happening as much. And then we incorporate the fitness. Now,
this is one of those areas that I think a lot of guys, this is where they kind of just throw their hands up and say, all right, fuck it. It's not in the cards. Yeah. Like for instance, like my schedule, I wake up, I got to be up out of bed by 5 a.m. All right. Okay. Then here in Jersey, it's still dark. It's still dark around a couple hours anyway. You got to drive an hour to work, jump on the train, get to work. By the time you're done, you're home, I don't know, say 4:30. Now the sun's going down. You have the family's here. Your wife wants to see you. Your kid won't leave you alone. He wants to ask you a million questions. And it's like, where, we have that hard time. Where do we fit it in? Because if we do it in the morning, now we're up at 3 a.m. And that's, now that's getting a little crazy. Or if we do it at night, then, the family is, oh, you're never around. It's tough. I feel like a lot of guys finding that balancing act, of time management.
Yeah. Let me just kind of add. So you have to decide how bad you really want it, right? Like if you get to a place where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you get to the point where you're willing to do almost anything. Well, then you're going to make it happen. And so what you start to do is you start to eliminate barriers, right? You mentioned 5 a.m. As a start time, and then you went straight to 3 a.m. Well, workouts that we're going to give you, especially in the beginning when you're starting to try to build a foundation, dude, you're talking 20, 25 minutes. And if you're not involving cardio, then the amount that you're going to sweat is going to be less. So maybe you move that from a 5 a.m. up time to a 4:30, get your 20 minutes of weights in. Now you still have time for a shower. You're not really impacting your schedule much. Now, if you are trying to carve out that time in the morning and you're just not a guy that's going to be able to work out in the morning, well, what we encourage you to do is not force it if that's not going to be a reality for you long term. We're very big on creating a vision 1 year, 3 year, 5, 10 years down the road. The system is a permanent solution, but what you've got to do in your own life is realize that if you try to force something, it's just like that the 3 mile jog for the guy who's 60 pounds overweight. Like forcing that is going to be miserable. It's not likely going to be sustainable for you. You that's not a long-term solution.
See, this right here, this is what I need. This is what I needed from you. I'm going to set up all these excuses and I'm going to have you knock them all down. So this is perfect. Keep going.
Yeah, well, and it is. It's about eliminating excuses. Look, at the end of the day, and I'll just tell you, man, like we're all professional excuse makers. If I don't want to do something, I'm going to find 1,000,001 reasons why I'm not going to do it. I could easily make up excuses right now to not go to the gym the 4 days a week that I get there right now. So with that being said, it is about eliminating barriers and finding ways to eliminate excuses. If you want it bad enough, you're going to make it happen. How bad do you want to be the leader of your family? How bad do you want to be around long-term for your kids to watch them grow up to pursue their own greatness? How bad do you want to walk your daughter down the aisle? How bad do you want to grow up to see your grandkids and be an active grandparent? I want to be a granddad that goes to the damn trampoline park with my grandkids. Yeah. And I had a late start. I'm 41, but I'll be damned if I'm not going to lead my sons by example. Yeah. I'm not going to be around to watch them grow up to pursue greatness that I believe they will. And so you don't want to be granddad on the rascal scooter showing up to the high school graduation. Not one bit, man. And I'm going to do everything in my power to prevent that from happening. And so if you have a strong enough why, if you have a strong enough driving motivator behind all this, then you're going to figure out a reason, or you're going to figure out a way to do it, right? You're going to eliminate excuses. And so there are, like I'll tell you right now, I could go to the gym, and this happens to me sometimes because the rec center I work out at closes at 1, and I work out between 12 and 1. Well, some days I don't get there until 12:30. And I still go through my warm up and my stretch. It might only leave me 15 minutes in the weight room, and that's it. And I can still go into the weight room and get a pretty solid workout in 15 minutes and get out of there and be on with my day. And so you eliminate the little warm up and the stretch that I do on the front end, 15 minutes you can get a damn good workout in 15 minutes. And so for the guys that are out there listening saying, well, I just don't have time. The perceived lack of time is the biggest reason people don't exercise on a regular basis. That is the number one reason. It's the perceived lack of time. Well, it's because it's not a non-negotiable priority for you. It's because you have not decided that you want to be a better version of yourself or become the healthiest version of yourself. And if you're not there right now, that's okay. Like, you got to be ready. But when it comes to health, the number one thing that I say is why wait? Like, we're not promised tomorrow. For me, quality of life and longevity is something that's a big priority for me. I don't want to be a 60-year-old guy with a big gut and having a knee replacement and having to be on, with crutches or in a wheelchair. I don't want to have I don't want to be that guy. And so, it's about priorities and about setting up these non-negotiable priorities in your life. A lot of guys have no problem raising the ceiling. They can set a lofty goal, right? I want to lose 50 pounds. I want to lose 30 pounds. Those are easy to talk about. You can always raise your ceiling. But at the end of the day, the bigger priority should be guys raising their floor. If you raise your floor and you're raising your minimum standards, you're creating non-negotiable priorities. I'll tell you right now, there's probably not a guy listening who doesn't take a shower and wash and brush his teeth every day, right? Those are non-negotiable priorities for the majority of us. I am not going to go a day without washing or without taking a shower or brushing my teeth. Those are just standards in my life. Well, one could argue, and you go back to caveman time when we didn't have showers and we didn't have toothbrushes. One could argue that nutrition and fitness and sleep and stress management are equally as important as hygiene, or even more so. Now, you get into some dental issues, you can turn septic pretty quick. And there's some exceptions. But at the end of the day, we are what we eat. And if you can raise the 4 core pillars that I talk about, get a little bit more active, start eating a little bit better, and those become non-negotiable priorities in your life, just like brushing your teeth or taking a shower, now you're raising your floor and the sky starts to become the limit for you.
No, that's great. I like that idea of raising the floor and not the ceiling, because that's a very, very crystal clear way of explaining it too. It's like you have these very basic things, and also we're dispelling the idea that it takes an hour and a half to do a workout. You can get it done in a short amount of time. If that becomes a non-negotiable part of your day, then you've already made a huge improvement in your daily routine, and I absolutely love that. So I want to shift gears a little. Yeah, I want to shift gears a little bit here and get into a little bit more about you personally. Like, now you are the host of the Dad Bod Pod. So can you explain a little bit about your journey into becoming a host of a show dedicated to men's health?
Yeah, for sure, man. So when I started my business, we just crossed over a little over 2 years ago. So I think I can't remember the exact date that I got my LLC for our company, but it's been a little over 2 years. I think it was August of 18. One of the things that I hired some mentorship when I started my business, and one of the things that one of my mentors talked about was your long-term play, right? The longer term, playing the long game. And so one of those things that I wanted to play the long game with was a podcast. I know that they're very popular, but it gives listeners the opportunity to go out and find people that they really, really resonate with their message, right? So I have a pretty specific niche. We teach guys how to optimize their health in all areas without sacrificing burgers, beer, or family time. Like, that's our punchline, man. And like, it's not about just losing weight. It's not about just losing fat. It's not about just getting a better physique. It's about optimizing your health from top to bottom so that you can become the leader of your family in every aspect. So you can be around long-term for your kids and perform powerfully and consistently on a daily basis. And so I needed a platform to be able to get that message out to more people. But I also wanted to get the perspective from other industry leaders, lately. When I first started my show, I was bringing on a lot of influencers and that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. And so I realized that, people are already fit. People might not necessarily have like that big of a journey when it comes to health. I don't know that the value was there for my audience. And so I started shifting gears and bringing on more physicians, I've had quite a few physicians that specifically work with guys and hormone replacement. I brought some dietitians on to talk supplements, like trying to get more information that can inspire and motivate versus just, hey, like, I'm an influencer and I'm fit, And so, it's
not much of a journey there.
The show has really, right. So the show has really shifted in terms of and so the show has shifted in terms of guests, but I also didn't want to lose my platform in terms of being able to teach. So I do a solo show and I do an interview, and we just switch every show. So When I first started, it was like a shot in the dark. Like my very first interview was my wife. We sat on the couch and I was like, this is going to be weird, but let's do it. Right.
Yep.
And now we're 120 episodes there, almost closing in on 120. And things have obviously changed a lot, but that was kind of what the inspiration was. I wanted a long-term piece of content that I could point people towards for specific things. I talk about a lot of the same stuff over and over. I've laid out the entire game when it comes to health and like our approach in the show. And so there's going to be people out there that never buy a single thing from me. And that's not why I started my business. I started my business to make a bigger impact. And starting a podcast gave me a bigger platform to be able to get that message out to more guys so they can potentially change their lives and work towards becoming the healthiest version of themselves.
I like it. Yeah, my wife and her best friend were my first two guests ever I recorded with. So I get that. You always got to get the people that are close to you first. In the beginning, it's hard to get guests. Well, how much time do you spend with it? Because I know for me, doing the podcast and making all the marketing and just putting everything together is almost like having another full-time job.
I did that for a minute and I don't do that anymore. I did that for a few months and then I hired a team.
Oh, okay.
Dude, I show up, whether it's a solo or, now here's the thing. I started putting mine on IGTV, which I kind of have mixed feelings about. So obviously it gets the show more exposure. Doesn't help that much. I don't know, but now I've got a pattern going on my Instagram. And that's really the only reason I've stopped posting a lot on social media because I'm focusing more on our communities. So a big part of our business is our Facebook group. And so I spend a lot of time in there, just nurturing the guys in there, helping provide as much value. We do a weekly live stream inside that group as well. And I can give that information out at the end, but, so I've really pulled back on social, but in terms of Instagram, now that I post my damn podcast on there, I've got to keep the pattern. So it's 2 pictures a week plus my little podcast. So originally though, yes, it is like a full-time job. And I was trying to put my content everywhere to get as maximum exposure as I could. But now I show up and I push record, I hit stop and I put it in a Google Drive and then they take care of the rest.
That sounds much, much easier.
And it's amazing. It's amazing. And I'm happy to give you their information. No, they're great. So
that was going to lead into my next question as to how do you what specific hacks, I guess you could say, have you found to manage the balance? But obviously now it makes a little more sense. You have much more free time.
Yeah.
What's like a regular workout routine look like for you?
Yeah. So
now as a husband and father of two.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, I don't change much. And the reason that our workouts for our community are so short and so to the point, we're there for results. We're not there to hang out in the gym. I don't go to the gym to spend time with the guys there. I don't have any buddies that I work out with or anything. I know a couple of the guys just because we see each other and we'll say what's up, but that's about it. I'm there to get my job done and get out of there so that I can move on with my day. And so I literally go in, I do a 5-minute warm up. I do a 5-minute stretch. I'm very big on stretching. I've had injuries by not stretching before, so I believe in it, especially shoulders. So I go in 5 minutes on a stationary bike, 5-minute stretch, head to the weight room. I'm in there for 20, 25 minutes max, head back to the cardio room. I'll either do my steady state cardio or my interval training for the day, and then I'm out. So we're talking less than an hour, but usually 45, 50 minutes. And I go, I hit each muscle group once a week. Right now I'm in there 4 days a week. I was a 5-day-a-week guy. I've got a forearm injury on my left forearm. That's just, it's not healing. So I've kind of pulled back on the 5th day, which was all arms. So right now it's like a chest and triceps Monday, back and biceps Tuesday, legs and core on Wednesday and shoulders on Thursday. And I'm out of there. Now I will tell you that one big thing that has helped me tremendously, again, is in terms of raising your floor, is creating minimum standards. So I have minimum standards in my life for many things. And one of my minimum standards is around working out. And so there are weeks where I don't get to the gym 4 times. Life happens. Things come up. and that's okay, especially with business. And so for me, my minimum standard is 3 days. If I did not get to the gym at least 3 days, then that shit starts to weigh on my conscience and I cannot handle it. I feel like I let myself down. I will beat myself up a little bit about it because I know that I'm better than that. There's no reason in a 7-day week that I cannot get there at least 3 times. So I have that as my floor. Most weeks it's 4 times. But that's essentially my routine.
Here's a little more fun question. When you're in the gym, when you're working out, do you prefer music or like some kind of podcast or audio book in the headphones, at least?
It's funny because I used to go back and forth. The last time I was listening to headphones, I was doing either podcast or audiobook just to consume as much content as I could while I was working out. Because the rest of the time is spent working on my own business. And so I have like 1 or 2 podcasts that I listen to fairly religiously, and that's about it. I was listening to 5 or 6, and it just gets to be too much. I can't keep up with too many shows where, I'm a busy dude just like you. And so I've got like my 1 or 2 that I tune into. But lately I had these earbuds that pre-pandemic. So I'm going on a year now. One of them broke. And so I was wearing 2 earbuds with only one that was working, and I finally scrapped them. And so now, dude, for like the last 6 months, I go to the gym headphone free, and I just live in my head, man. And I just it's my time to think, reflect, and really kind of plan the second half of my day out. Because again, I work out at lunch.
I see. When I was working out regularly, I couldn't do it without music. It was not possible. If I didn't have headphones, I would just go home. So I would make sure that I had a pair in my bag and then a spare pair in the car just in case, because it was like, that was it.
I get it. And I used to be that way. I used to be the same way, man. But I guess because I've been at it for so long, you just start trying different things, and so now it's like, I could do with it or without it. It's not a big deal.
You don't have a preference either way?
Nah.
See, you're lucky then. You're very lucky. I have too much.
No,
OCD
some guys have to have it. Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah.
I got to have a very specific playlist too, because my wife and I used to go to Orange Theory. Have you heard of it?
Okay. Yep. Yeah, my wife did that too for a while.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
I've never done it.
It was a great workout, but I don't like the fact that you can't tailor it to what you need. It was always like, this is what we're doing today, and that's what it is. But my biggest problem was that whoever the instructor is, picked the music. And, if you're not on the same page with that instructor, that just completely throws the wrench in the wheels for me. I don't want to work out to Britney Spears. I'm sorry. No offense to her.
I understand, dude. I get it.
So I had a guy, he was pretty good. He would take requests once in a while. So I could slip a few in.
Okay.
What about diet? Like, for instance, like I said, for me being, working in construction, you have options sometimes to go out and eat, and usually they're not very good options as far as health is concerned. So usually whatever you bring is what you have. So do you have like what works for you? What do you prefer to do? Like just to maintain?
I'm a very regimented person, man. And like my diet, and I don't like the word diet, but there's 2 different types, right? Like when I say my diet, it's just the foods that I eat. It's not a specific diet.
Your meal plan.
There you go. It is very regimented, man. I eat the same first meal and the same second meal literally every single day. The weekends changes a little bit, but we eat the same things Monday through Thursday night. The structure is all the same. But I eat lots of eggs. I probably eat 30 to 35 eggs a week. I eat a full avocado or 2 every single day. I eat a lot of blueberries, a lot of nuts, all very nutrient dense foods. What I do is essentially very, very no to low carb for the first 2 meals of the day. And then the second 2 meals of the day are where I work in the carbs. So they're going to be very complex, nutrient dense carbs. So we eat a lot of sweet potatoes, a lot of black rice, a lot of quinoa. I don't eat a lot of bread, especially during the week, but we do breakfast tacos every Wednesday night. So we buy whole wheat tortillas, nitrate free bacon or ham. But that's pretty much it, dude. Like Monday and Thursday night is almost always salmon, sweet potato, and asparagus. My son doesn't like asparagus for some reason now. He used to, but now he's off of it. So we'll do some broccoli for him. But very, very similar meal structure with every meal. And it just works for me. Like I'm big on go-to meals. I believe that if you can find 3, 4, 5 meals that you don't mind putting on autopilot because you know that they're healthy, they're nutrient dense, and they're going to fuel your body for high performance every day, then why get away from them? Stick to them. The variation comes in with the cheat meals. Friday night, Saturday night, religiously in my life are always going to be something that is not healthy. Last night, I had pizza followed by ice cream. Tonight, I will have a burger, some fries, and a couple of beers. Like those are my nights to enjoy myself. I don't look at nutrients. I don't look at calories. I just go for it. And it just works. It's I can't have it now, but I can have it later mentality. And then when those nights come up, man, you better believe I enjoy the hell out of those meals. But I also will tell you that some of my most favorite meals are my healthiest meals because of the way they make my body feel, right? Like obviously, am I going to choose salmon, asparagus, and sweet potato over burger with a fried egg on it, some fries, and a couple of beers? The answer is no. Most times, right, I'm going to choose that burger, but on a regular basis because I know that meal number 2 is going to make me feel a lot better when I know that I need high performing weeks. Well, I'm not going to choose the burger on a Tuesday night. Like that's for later because I know what I need to fuel my body properly.
No, that makes sense. It seems like a lot of guys, not even guys, just people in general have a lot of trouble with that delayed gratification. It's like, I know I want it now, but it's better if I wait. And that's the discipline that I think a lot of us fall short at, you know?
Well, we live in an instant gratification society. You and I both have a $1,000 computer in our hand and we can look up anything we want on Google, ask Siri, ask Alexa, go down to the corner and get some fast food in 5 minutes. Get on Amazon right now and order anything Amazon Prime. It might even be here today, right?
I'm actually ashamed to say I actually have 2 packages coming today.
There you go. We want it. We want it now. And unfortunately, when it comes to health, that's just not reality. And so when you can make that mindset shift when it comes to health and you learn to embrace the journey as such and know that these small little micro disciplines add up over time, they compound on one another and you will eventually get to your goal. But you got to take the small baby steps on a daily basis to equal what you want to eventually become. And that's where the magic happens. But it is the most challenging concept for people to grasp.
Yeah. One thing I learned, like, so my journey a little bit was now going back over 10 years. But I was around, I'm not a tall guy, you know, I'm like 5'7" on a good day. I'm 5'7" that's a tall day for me, you know? So, you know, I was always struggled with weight growing up. I didn't really learn to eat healthy. And then around 2008, you know, I decided I was going to do something about it. And I started exercising. I got a gym membership. I always watched my stepdad. You know, he would always go to the gym. That was his floor. Like that was non-negotiable for him. At least 3 days a week, he's got to go. And now he's almost 70 years old and he spends more time there than most young guys I know.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, but he's great shape, this guy. So, you know, I didn't know how to eat healthy. I didn't know what a meal plan really was like. And then you realize as you start going through this stuff that, you know, it's very easy to fall into like decision fatigue. You don't want to have to think about what you're going to make that night for dinner. Well, what are you going to do about breakfast? What are you going to do when it's time to have, you know, lunch at work? So I found ways to make it kind of thoughtless, if that makes sense. So just like you said, grab and go meals. Like you can find stuff at the grocery store that's already ready. It's already packaged. You just grab it, throw it in the bag, and you're ready to roll. And it's healthy,
right?
And it's the problem with that, which I ran into later on, was that sometimes those things go away if you're depending on outside sources. Like, oh, there's a restaurant where they have a perfectly healthy lunch, all the numbers, you know, your macros are perfect, it's nice and easy, you don't have to think about it. Well, what happens when that restaurant goes out of business? What happens when, you know, everybody's quarantined? Now all of a sudden you're left high and dry and you have to figure it out for yourself. So do you have tips like easy go-to meals and just like little ideas that guys can have, just something you can make on a Sunday, throw it in the fridge and you have enough for Monday through Friday?
Yeah, well, so one thing that we do not teach is meal prep. I don't do any meal prep at all in my house. I do not believe in cooking up 6 chicken breasts on a Sunday, and you try to eat that on Thursday, man. I used to live that life.
Yeah, I found that same problem.
Yeah, look, I got into a bodybuilding phase for a while, and I was very, very, very focused for a couple of years, packed on a lot of mass, was eating 5,000 calories a day. And it's just a struggle, man. The nutrition part is way harder than the working out part.
Yes.
And so, it's just it's a miserable life to live. And so I have a lot of admiration for those guys that put in the work with nutrition, because it's you try eating a large steak, a large baked potato, and a serving of broccoli while you're still stuffed from the last meal, like piling that in. It's just so hard. But with that being said, going back to what I talked about earlier, like, I'm so big on eggs and nuts and things like that are grab and go. So like, hard boiled eggs, there's not a more nutrient dense food on the planet or very, very close runner or nobody that's in competition with an egg, right? Like an egg has so many nutrients. There's probably not a more nutrient-dense fruit on the planet than avocados, right? So these healthy fats, these nutrient-dense foods are what's going to fill you up, keep you full for a longer period of time, and help you fuel your body. So we do a lot of eggs, a lot of nuts, a lot of avocados. Berries can be easily grab and go. You could do a protein shake and a handful of almonds, and now you've got a quick, easy grab thing with protein and with healthy fats, and now you're moving on with your day. So things like that. If you need to get into sandwiches, I'm not a big bread guy during the week, but I do buy my son and my wife Dave's Killer Bread, the little thin slice. Mm-hmm. You can do a lot with a sandwich, man. And those are like the Dave's Killer Bread they're pretty nutrient dense. They've got a good amount of whole grains in there. You throw some nitrate-free lunch meat on there, some cheese, load it up with some spinach. You could even put a slice of avocado on there. Now you've got a very healthy sandwich that took you 2 minutes to make and helps you move through the day. And so it's about finding ways to not overcomplicate it and simplify the process. There are some bars out there that can come into play as well. Kashi makes a couple that are really good. Mm-hmm. You want to be careful with those because the amount of sugar and carbs that some of those things can have. There's a lot of marketing on the packages that can make it seem healthy, and it's not really that healthy. So it's important to read labels. Another thing that we've done here at my house is go out and buy a rotisserie chicken. Rotisserie chicken with some steamed broccoli. You can even buy the microwavable ones. That's a pretty quick meal that tastes pretty good. You throw some seasoning on the broccoli. Rotisserie chicken's pretty damn good. Yeah. You can use that rotisserie chicken for 3 or 4 meals. Now you got some protein, you got some vegetables, you can move on with your life. You add a small handful of nuts there. Now you've got protein and healthy fat with some green vegetables. There's a lot of ways to go about nutrition. The world of nutrition is vast, and it can also be overwhelming. And it's about cutting through the nonsense and figuring out ways to work in more nutrient-dense foods that can be grab and go, that mm-hmm. don't have to be this long, drawn-out process. One of the meals that I eat every day is a handful of pecans. Lately, we've been doing pecans. So almonds, walnuts, pecans, pistachios, they'll all work. But lately, it's been pecans and pistachios for me. So my second meal of the day is a small handful of pecans, a small handful of pistachios, and a large handful of blueberries. Well, on the surface, that might sound like a snack to some people. But you add the calories up from that, depending on the type of nut. Yeah, depending on the type of nut, could be anywhere from 180 to 220 calories. You get 2 handfuls of those. Now that's a 500 or 600 calorie meal that is very healthy, very nutrient dense, and can help you move through the day because the healthy fats are going to keep you full longer. Mm-hmm. And so that is a meal. A lot of people have this misconception. It's got to be a long, drawn out process, man. That is a meal. So make that one of your meals. Very easy. I buy all my nuts from the baking section at Walmart. If you're going to eat nuts a lot, you might as well get the big one and get the most bang for your buck. Yeah. So these are just some little hacks that I use in my own life. On the weekend, if I'm doing yard work on a Saturday and I don't want to stop to make a long, drawn out meal, I'll grab a protein shake and a handful of almonds and I'm back to work. It took me 2 minutes to get it down the hatch and we go on, and so finding little ways like that to incorporate foods that are going to be quick and easy will set you up for much greater success.
One last thing about that, with the protein shakes. Now, especially for guys that are early on in their journey, how much do you recommend the protein shakes? I know a lot of guys they seem very hesitant if they're not weight training, if they're not lifting heavy weights, they feel like maybe that's overdoing it. What do you think about that? What's your position?
The only time I take a protein shake is the scenario that I just gave you. I get all of my protein from the foods that I eat. There is a small amount of plain whey protein that is involved in our modified intermittent fasting piece, but it's not for protein supplementation at all. So in terms of protein supplementation, there's actually a lot of data out there that says we actually need less protein than we once thought we did. Mm-hmm. So in terms of protein shakes, I'm only using that in a situation where I want some protein on board with the healthy fats. One, I'll tell you, the breakfast that my wife makes for her and my son a lot is a breakfast smoothie. So it'll be a scoop of protein, either chocolate or vanilla, whatever they're craving. Some spinach, some raw baby organic spinach, some frozen blueberries, and then maybe some almond milk, and then a tablespoon of almond butter. So now you've got protein, you've got some nutrient dense spinach and blueberries. You've got almond butter, which is nutrient dense and a healthy fat. Now you've got all the nutrients on board to fill you up, keep you full longer. You got protein, fat, and carbohydrates. And now you're moving forward with your day. And so to answer your question, this is not really protein shakes in general, like whether you're working out or not. This is not really for that. It's just you can either have a protein shake or a chicken breast. You tell me which one's easier to get down the hatch, right?
Yeah,
like if you're looking for a quick fix, maybe you want some beef jerky, something like that. There's ways to go about it, but the protein shake itself, it's just a quick, easy way to get in, 25 grams of protein with some healthy fats, like i.e. the nuts or something like that, and then move on with your day. So that's the reason I brought it up. It's not necessarily for protein supplementation. That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, it's a whole nother episode.
Well, and again, I lift weights 4 days a week, and right now in my life, I don't take any protein shakes for protein supplementation. I used to. I don't. I changed that. I took it out really after the pandemic, and my weight and muscle mass hasn't changed at all.
All right. No, I appreciate that because it's kind of been a point of confusion for a lot of people, myself included. Well, I really don't have much else. Let's do it this way. You've been real generous with your time today, and I don't want to keep you too long. For the last question I'm going to ask you, this is a kind of just a general, almost philosophic question. How can I word this? Let me see. What do you think is the best way to inspire a guy, maybe a guy in our age, mid to late 30s, early 40s, maybe you got a wife and kids at home. What's the best thing you could tell a guy to inspire him to start taking his health seriously? Because a lot of guys, we were healthy once in our lives, and now, the routine is set in. We've gotten in the grind, and we just kind of let other things take priority to our own physical and mental health. So what do you say to a guy to kind of snap him back into reality? Say, you need to take this seriously.
Yeah, it's a great question, man. And look, I mean, ultimately, you got to be ready, right? Like you mentioned with your own health and with my journey. There were nearly 3.5 years that passed by, and when I lived in Abilene, where I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to take action. And so, number one is you got to be ready. And some of us get to a point where we become sick and tired of being sick and tired. And when you get to that point, there's a lot that could inspire you, right? It's figuring out, okay, what's the best thing from there to start taking action? Because when you're at that point, we can call it rock bottom, or you're at your breaking point if you're truly sick and tired of being sick and tired. But to inspire somebody, it goes back to that why. Like, why do you want to be, or let me rephrase this. Maybe not even why. Like, first of all, ask yourself, are you the best version of you? And if you're not, do you have any desire to become the best version of yourself before you die? And if the answer is no, you might not have enough inspiration until you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. But if the answer is yes, I believe that every single one of us was put on this planet to achieve some type of greatness, right? And in order to become the healthiest and the most elite, let's just go with the elite. If you want to become the most elite version of yourself, you want to maximize your potential in all areas. Mm-hmm. And I'll use the example, and whether we won't go down the religious rabbit hole here, it doesn't really involve religion much. Whether you believe in a higher power or not, right? We were put on this planet to achieve greatness, and if you don't believe that, then you probably need to do some soul searching, because I believe we're all capable of great things. So whether you believe in a higher power or not, just think about this: like, are you the best version of yourself right now? And if that's not the case, do you have any desire to accomplish that? And if you do, what is your why? Like, do you want to be around long-term for your kids? Do you want to be that active granddad? Do you want to be a better version of yourself so that your wife or your significant other looks at you in a different way? Do you want your sex life to improve? Do you want to have better energy throughout the day so that you can perform powerfully and consistently on a daily basis and not be the guy that's coming home and zonked out on the couch, losing out on precious moments with his family because he can't keep his eyes open after work? These are questions that we have to ask ourselves, because at the end of the day, nobody's going to do it for you, right? We have a lot of guys in our program. There's one guy in my program right now who's not doing well, okay? I've given him the tools. He's not taking action. I can give you the tools to get there. There's a lot of people. We don't lack for information. We lack for application. The tools are out there for you to succeed. Obviously, when you talk about guidance, support, accountability, coaching, there's a lot of factors that can come in to make your road a little bit more successful, and help expedite that. I believe everybody needs coaches, right? The most elite athletes in the world hire coaches. The most elite businessmen in the world have coaches. We could all use a coach in some area of our life to maximize our potential. But again, if you want to maximize your potential as a human and you want to eventually become the most elite version of yourself, well, you got to take the steps to get there. And if you're not ready, I get it. You have to be ready. Mm-hmm. But do you want to become the best version of yourself? I do. In order to do that, I need to be my healthiest. Right now, am I in peak health? I believe that I'm a pretty healthy dude. I've got the health part figured out. Do I believe that I'm capable of more in terms of my relationships, in terms of my business, in terms of the impact that I can make in the world? I absolutely do. So in order to do those things, I need to be the healthiest version of myself. So don't make it all about health. You mentioned you're an electrician. Do you feel like you're capable of more with your business?
No, I'm terrible. I'm not a good electrician.
Well, do you feel like you're capable of more? Do you feel like, and we didn't really talk about whether you have your own business or not, but like, are you capable of more in business? Are you capable of more in your relationships? Are you capable of more just in general as a man? It doesn't always have to be related around health, but when you come back to your core, if you want to, health is wealth. And in order to accomplish greatness in any of those other areas that I just mentioned, it comes back to health. If you're not your healthiest, you're never going to be the best version of yourself. And so those are the questions that I would encourage you to ask yourself is, if you want more out of life, it all starts with health. If you're your healthiest, you're going to be able to help take care of others. I'll use the analogy of the flight attendant. They always tell you to put your mask on first before you put anybody else's mask on. It's time for guys to start stepping onto the plate and making themselves and their health a bigger priority so that they can take care of those around them and become the best and most elite version of themselves.
That's a perfect way to end it. I really appreciate that. Jason, thank you very much for coming on the show. Do you want to tell the listeners where they can find you?
Yeah, for sure, Steve. No, I appreciate you having me, man. It's been a great conversation. They say, I don't know who they is, but they say the modern day business card would be your Instagram page, right? So I'm pretty much at Dad Bod Health everywhere. On Instagram, it's at Dad Bod Health. I think Twitter is the only place. It's like at dad_. I don't even post on Twitter. We won't go there. So Instagram is at Dad Bod Health. I'm Jason Priest on Facebook. Happy to connect with any of your listeners. The best place to find me, though, you mentioned my podcast earlier. So it's the capital THE Dad Bod Pod. We're on all platforms. If you want health content on a weekly basis, that's a great place to go. And then a really, really, really great place to get plugged into is our free Facebook community. again, we do weekly live streams in there every single week. Myself, my 2 business partners who are also very well versed, very well respected in the health and fitness space. And we've got a buzzing community over there. And so highly recommend, if any of your listeners want more health content on a weekly basis, and get more strategic about what we talked about today when it comes to sleep, stress management, nutrition, and fitness, that would be a great place to find us. And an easy, like an easy URL, you could go to discussionswithdadsgroup.com.
Okay.
And that'll take you right to our Facebook page.
I'll have the link right under the video here.
Yeah. So, and that's probably the best the best places to find me, man, and get more of what we're all about. Just the bottom line, man, we're here to help. We're here to make an impact. And whether you ever become a client or a customer of ours or not, at the end of the day, if you can get value from the podcast, from the free group, anywhere in our circle of influence, that's all we want, man, is for you to become a healthier version of yourself.
Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us here. That's it. That's the pod, guys. Thank you very much to Jason for coming on here and sharing his time with us. This is actually my first time getting to talk to him, so it was nice. It went well. I thought so. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys got something out of it, and hopefully he gave you some good ideas for how to, get yourself back on that wagon, guys. I'm just as guilty. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, I'm not going to preach to you. Lord knows since I started this show, I've had a hard enough time staying in shape. And one might argue that I have not done that. Either way, hopefully you guys could take some of this advice and this knowledge and put it to good use. And hopefully it'll help you out. My problem's always been, if I can't just set it up where I could grab it and go and not think about it, then it's probably going to go sideways on me. And, he's got some really good tips in there that, I don't know, I guess I never thought of, or maybe I just forgot, but it's good information, guys. Don't waste it. Anyway, as always, you know where to find us. You can, if you're watching this, it's on YouTube. Please hit, like, subscribe, all that stuff. If you're listening, follow us on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, The Pod Amongst Men. And for both, make sure you follow us on Instagram, apodamongstmen@gmail.com. For email, apodamongstmen on Instagram and Twitter. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about right now. My brain's fried, guys. I'm fried. Mandalorian blew my mind. Sorry, I'm recording this on a Saturday. It'll be a couple weeks until you hear this. Anyway, yeah, you get. What am I saying? You guys know the drill. Like, subscribe on iTunes, YouTube, all that shit. And follow us on Instagram, man. Join the community. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Until next week, peace.